name is Matt Laster. I'm a senior sales engineer with ModelOp. Today we're going to be talking about how ModelOp Center is able to take embedded files, specifically DMN files, and turn those into automated decisions about how a model is performing, and then ultimately, and more importantly, automated actions on what to do with models as they move through their life cycle. Again, something very powerful for operationalizing or putting models into production is going from something that has to be babysat by a data scientist or by a data engineer or some other similar role to something that is managed by exception, that manages itself. And we're going to talk about how ModelOp Center does that. So what we're looking at here is a demo model. It's an XGBoost model that does some calculations for a credit approval or a loan approval. Right? In the real world, this would be a very, very critical model that would be hyper monitored for performance and statistical behavior as expected. As you can see on the left side, we're looking at this just inside of the ModelOp Center model catalog, where we abstract a lot of the different parts of the model. So we've got our source code, we've got our input-output schemas, our version history, and we've got our attachments. One of those attachments that we're going to look at is our performance comparator DMN file, and that is going to be classified as a test result comparator. Right? So the importance of this file really shines when we look at what's inside of it. So let's take a look at that. Right? Just to keep myself honest, what we're doing is working with a public GitHub repo that we maintain. You're more than welcome to take a look at it and try this out for yourself inside of a sandbox or wherever you'd like. So this DMN file, when we open it, looks like a decision table, because it is. And the way we read this is if the area under the curve for this model's test results is less than 0.65, it does not pass because its area under the curve threshold, 0.9. So that's a typo. Let's go ahead and fix that. And likewise, if the F1 score is under 0.1, also fail it. So editing DMN is very, very straightforward. You can have as many KPIs. You can have as complex a relationship of KPIs as you want. You can have both performance KPIs as well as really any kind of string or dictionary. So there's a lot you can do with checking to make sure that all of its approvals are in line, all of its documentation is present, all of its performance is in line, etc. So just for the sake of demonstration, let's add another one here. So we're going to say if the AUC is less than 0.5 and my F1 is less than 0.05, not only are we going to fail the model, but we're going to have a very specific message, which is, hey, Steve, your model needs fixing. Get on that. All right? Got to have some fun with demos. All right, so where does this then turn into an automated decision? How does ModelOp Center take this file and turn it into actual value for you as a business user, or you as a data scientist, or you as a model operator or IT operations person, or just whatever role you have? That's where ModelOp Center's MLC and process automation comes in. All right, so for this conversation, let's take a look at this deployment MLC. All right, so what we're looking at here is BPMN, again, industry standard, global standard, business process automation and notation tool. And what this says, I'm going to zoom in so we can read it a little better, is whenever a model snapshot is created, we're first going to check to see if it meets a couple classes of models. If it doesn't, we're going to keep going, look to see if that model has a training and needs training. If it doesn't need training, we're going to go ahead and run a test. We're then going to take that test and we're going to look for JIRA, make a decision on whether or not that model needs to have a JIRA approval, at which point we're going to then, run and analyze that test. So let's take this, and I know I am kind of going all over the place here. Let's set up a dual screen so we can see what's going on here. All right, so here we are, models on the left, MLC on the right. I'm going to create my snapshot. So again, that first gate of looking for training data, that's going to look for a weights file. If the weights file is present, we're going to skip training. This second gate here needs JIRA. That's looking for the presence of this JIRA tag. So because this JIRA tag is here on this snapshot, we're going to wait for an approval. And what you're going to see is as I'm obsessing about. As I click Confirm Snapshot, you're going to see the automation happen. All right, so here we are running our test. Test finishes very quickly. All right, you saw it followed this path. So let's look at what happened. ModelOp Center took that comparator test file, that DMN file, and analyzed it against our test. It failed, and sure enough, we got a notification. So now let's go back to our full screen. And if we come to our dashboard, sure enough, you can see right there, model failed, right? And if we look at what happened, right, here we are looking at that test result of that model test. Sure enough, the area under the curve, last I checked, 0.648 is just barely less than 0.65. So sure enough, not only did we deploy the model, but we automatically recognized that it was not ready for deployment, failed it, and didn't actually deploy the model. That, my friends, is the power of ModelOp Center. So let's summarize what we talked about today. First, we looked at how we can embed a DMN file into a repo, into a model, just another code object in that model. We then take that DMN file and read in the decision that it models. We use that decision at specific points inside of that model's lifecycle in an automated fashion. And ultimately, that drives us to being able to not only determine, is this model performant, but is this model performant in the required ways? And more importantly, if it's not meeting expectations, let's say it's out of threshold, out of bounds, let's take an action. Right? Today we saw the action of making a notification, but it could just as easily be promoting a challenger or sending a angry email to Steve telling him to fix his model. Whatever the deal, whatever the desired outcome is, ModelOp Center can make that decision and automate it. Again, my name is Matt Laster. I'm a senior sales engineer with ModelOp. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me or the other ModelOp sales team. Thanks, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.